Welcome, everybody. This is another episode of the Better 24/7 Wellbeing podcast with me, Sue Cowlishaw.
And me, Gareth Boo. You said to me, shall I start this off and shall I introduce it? I said, yeah. And you said, is it the Wellbeing Matters podcast? And you said, welcome to the Better 24/7 Wellbeing podcast.
Yeah.
It's Wellbeing Matters.
Oh, sorry, Wellbeing Matters. I'm not used to doing it, but you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I've got to start somewhere. You did a good job. How are you this week, Susan?
Do you know what? I'm in a really, really good mood.
You've been in a good mood all day, actually. I'm always a bit mischievous, not mischievous, what's it? A little bit...
perturbed?
No, not perturbed.
I had a word there on me.
No, it'll come back. It's good you're in a good mood. You've been in a good mood for a while, actually. In fact, it's very rare I see you in a bad mood.
No, I don't do bad moods, do I?
You don't do bad moods. You don't do falling out.
Nah, I'm quite calm.
And you don't do drama.
I don't do drama. Sometimes I'm kind of dragged into that direction, but I usually dig my heels in
and avoid the drama.
Put the brakes on.
So what we're talking about today, actually, that's the title of this podcast.
Drama.
How to avoid drama and overwhelm.
Conflict.
They could all come in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these things: drama, conflict, overwhelm. What else could you class overwhelm as?
Anxiety.
All those things. And I think a lot of people suffer from them. So
I've been reading stuff on the internet this morning, and it was from my yoga group, sharing classes and asanas for the pandemic. So clearly there is a lot of there's a lot of people not feeling great at this moment in time.
Look, it's got to a stage now where every single business or any service provider has got something now that's for the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
They've had to. People have struggled. And I think it has caused a lot of anxiety, overwhelm, drama. I wanted to talk about that. So the actual title of the podcast itself is KISS.
Keep it simple.
Well, it is. That's what it stands
Stupid.
for. Well. I put KISS as the title, and it was a bit of clickbait, really.
Was it?
Because you know what clickbait is?
Yeah, don't you say something that people think, ooh.
Yeah, what's that? What does that mean?
When they click on it, it's
What
nothing
they talk
like.
about KISS? What's that all about? And then when you go on, it's something that's very tenuously linked to what they've said.
Yeah.
So yes, the acronym KISS, K-I-S-S, is something. It's used a lot in kind of personal development, self-development coaching. It just stands for keep it simple, stupid. I don't like that. I think that's quite derogatory.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to call it keep it simple, sexy.
I knew you were going to say that.
Gosh, well, you think of all the other words we can put to S. There's very few. Sexy or stupid. And you might be sexy and stupid, or stupid and sexy. Doesn't matter. But I often thought when I heard that, I never liked it, keep it simple, stupid. Always, what do you mean? Because actually, keeping it simple is not as simple as you might think.
No, it's not.
And it's a learning thing. So it's not the fact you're stupid for not keeping things simple. It's a practice. So what I wanted to do, I've made some notes again.
I like it with your notes.
I know. Well, it's a process we've gone into now. And it's a simple process. So it's tied in.
Do you know, I just mentioned my 76-year-old mother has made notes and lists all her life. And she's the most organised, focused person that gets so much done. And I've never learnt.
You do it a lot better than you used to. I think sometimes with you're one of these people that you like to go with the flow.
Yeah, I like my spontaneity, and you kind of think, it's like when I have my grandson, it's like a fine line between getting him to toe the line and be a wild child. There's a little bit in between.
Well, the reason we're in a slightly different setting today, so if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll know that. We've been in a different setting for the last 3 podcasts.
We've been moving around the house.
Been trying different things out.
We even puffed up the cushions.
We always puff up the cushions, because we spend a lot of time on this couch, sat on it, and after a while, what looks beautiful now just becomes these kind of crumpled, massive pillows or cushions. So we've plumped them up, so anybody watching us will think we live in quite a tidy household. But even that, you have a system for a process for plumping the cushions up. You always go the same side. You always
Don't
start that
say
side
that.
and come round.
People think that I'm so dull.
It's not dull at all. And one thing about simplicity is it's easy to say, I want to live simply. And I think over the course, certainly I've noticed over the last few years, there's been a big move towards this thing about simplicity. There's something that often happens, and I see it quite regularly on Facebook. It's a little picture of like a log cabin.
Yeah.
In the middle of some trees.
Or what about those small houses that they've designed?
They're great, but come back to them, because this is the reason I'm mentioning the cabin and the log cabin in the trees It's just like this thing saying, this is my idea of heaven, I dream of this, away from nowhere, nothing but this log cabin and a little wood burner.
Yeah.
Now, we've spent time in those environments.
We have.
And they are challenging.
Especially if the weather's bad.
Well, the thing is, if it's wet, it's not nice. If it's warm, you get bit to death by anything that wants to bite you, which is generally midges and bugs.
I know, we never could find the dishwasher.
Dishwasher?
Yeah, we could never find it, could we? When we went to live in a simple hut. Couldn't find the dishwasher,
no,
the washing machine. Internet never worked.
So these people have this kind of, I think, quite a romantic idea of simplicity. But the reality simple is quite tough. It's a practice, it's a discipline. So if you think about some of the people that talk about simplicity, it's always sometimes tied in with the word Zen. People like, there's a guy out there called Leo Babauta. He does
I've heard of him.
Well, he will have done because he's a very famous...
Zen?
He's not Zen, he's not famous for being Zen.
Is he a monk?
He's famous. No, he's not a monk. I mean, he looks like a monk, he shaved his head. But he's got the Zen, there's something out of simplicity.
I know what you mean.
Leo Babauta.
Is it like the art of simplicity?
No, it's not. But anyway, Leo Babauta writes a blog, and he became famous for writing a blog. It was the most read blog in the world for a while, and that was based on simplicity. And some of the things he did really was, he looks like a monk 'cause he shaves his head.
Got loads of kids, so.
Yeah. Well, again, that's...
That's not the simplest thing you can do.
When I used to listen to his stuff and watch his stuff, because he had videos as well, and he's quite a plain dude, and when you listen to him, he's not that engaging. But when you read his stuff, it's quite good writing. And he did this a few years ago about people wanting to live a more simple life. And there's other things that over the years I've kind of been dragged towards, and one was called 20 Litre Life. And it were these guys that travel the world, writing and doing stuff just with a 20 litre backpack, which is not a very big backpack.
Do you think this has just brought something up? Since I've known you, you've talked a lot about simple life. I want simple life, I want simplicity. But yet you had like the most unsimple, fairly chaotic life that of anybody had ever seen. And was it because your life was chaotic, you yearned for that simplicity?
When my life was chaotic, generally all of that was man-made, and more specifically Gareth-made.
Yes.
So I think at one time, sometimes you're striving for too many things at the same time. In fact, I wrote a blog about this on my own personal website a while back. It says, a man who tries to catch two rabbits catches neither.
Okay.
It's all about focus. And I think with me, at certain points in my life, I did have a lot of drama and chaos because I didn't really know what I wanted. And I think one of the things about people that do suffer from chaotic lives, stressful lives, overwhelmed lives, drama, is that you're really not sure what you want. So a lot of the problems I had with a chaotic life came from trying to keep people happy and trying to keep everybody happy when there was no way that could possibly happen. So sometimes you put yourself in a rock and hard place where you try to make sure everybody's happy, or you try to make sure nobody gets upset. But unfortunately, that's not life.
Have you given that up now?
Yeah, I recognise that sometimes... painfully, or not in some cases, relievedly, in some cases, you have to let some things go and let some people go or some circumstances go. And trying to hang on to them all and trying to ensure that, even if you want to leave that person, that situation, that circumstance, that job, whatever it is, to do it in a way where people will still like you and people will still kind of get on with you is very naive. So a lot of it tied in with me to having a need to feel like I didn't hurt or upset people. Or was it just a need to be liked? I don't know. And all I can say is that I don't tend to carry that same viewpoint these days.
You don't seem to.
No, because this is a process, and I wanted to talk about simplicity today because there just seems at the moment to be a lot of drama and uncertainty, and what else did I write down here? Yeah, overwhelm. It's just everywhere because we're bombarded with information all the time.
We were talking about the mask wearing situation, weren't you? We're not clear on what we're supposed to be doing or not doing.
It's funny as COVID because I don't think, apart from one time when somebody says you've got to stay at home, and even then that wasn't very clear. Stay at home if you can't go to work. If you can't go to work, go to work. If you can go to work but you can't go on a bus, drive. If you don't have to drive, walk. If you don't, there became a lot of complicated. There was no definitive anything. And one thing that I think people misunderstand about simplicity is it involves you having some fairly rigid rules at times of things you will or will not do. And in order to simplify a process, you almost have to take it back to the beginning and rebuild it. Which is why it's difficult sometimes, especially if you're trying to simplify something that other people are involved in. So like if you're trying to simplify your life, and let's say me as a parent are trying to simplify my life, but I have 3 children, and they're not for simplifying their life, then I can't completely simplify mine because some of the stuff I would want to do would then impact their life and they might not want to be part of it. So I'll give you simplicity, I suppose, as in a nutshell for me. Simplicity is only what's necessary. That for me is only what's necessary. So the reason we're on here today doing this is I wanted to try something today, which was how quickly could we set up the podcast and start recording. Because last week, in order to do the podcast we did at the table, it took an hour to set it up.
Every time I looked, you were like doing something at the table.
Because there was a question we had it against a wall. The wall had a couple of areas in it which I didn't want in the frame of the camera, so I had to move the camera. Then we had to move the table, move the chairs.
And you took painting off the wall.
And I took the painting off the wall. Then I had to bring up the microphones, and the bigger microphones, I had to set them up, and they've got stands, and they all needed adjusting. And what I thought was, what is the simplest way we could produce the podcast? And this is pretty much the setup. We're sat on the couch, we've got 2 handheld microphones. So to anybody listening, unless you've got ears like a recording studio executive, it'll still sound good because these are good microphones, but they're not as good as the other ones. And what I used to do is I used to think, I want the podcast to sound perfect, look perfect. And that's complicating it. So simplicity is today. I feel like quite casual here today. It's quite a grey day outside. So I kind of sat here cross-legged on his couch. And again, if you're listening to this, you won't notice it. If you're watching on YouTube, which is, some people do watch on YouTube, you'll see that. So it's this idea of only what's necessary is a question I tend to ask myself that's helped me with my simplicity. Is this necessary? Does that make sense?
My similar kind of question is this a need or a want?
You mentioned that's not really okay. I need to add a little bit to what I should have said there. Is this necessary in this situation? So is this necessary to make this happen? So today, in order to do something which is the goal of today is to record a podcast, upload that to the podcast channels, audio-wise, and have a copy of this to put onto YouTube. So in order for that to happen, there's at least 3 things required. A microphone to put the sound into, a computer to record the sound, and a video recorder or a camera to record the video. So those are 3 things that are necessary.
And earphones?
The earphones aren't necessary.
Okay.
But I know that they're not absolutely necessary. I think they help because when you're moving the microphone away from your mouth. Because if I start to move this now, and you won't hear that without your headphones on.
No.
It sounds silly. So we use the headphones. They are important, but they're not absolutely necessary. Because you'd still hear it, only it won't be as good.
Okay.
But for no microphone. So when you talk about that wants and needs, I think that moves in more into its kind of desires. I'm talking about processes here because what I wanted to talk about today and to discuss is how people can use this concept of KISS, keep it simple, sexy, how you can keep... That might offend some people as well.
Never mind.
So instead of being called stupid sexy, which you're more...
which you're more offended by.
Yeah. In fact, to be honest, if you're offended by either of those, you probably shouldn't be listening to our podcast. Anyway, let's look at these areas that I've picked out today. And if you're watching me on YouTube, you'll see I keep staring down because I've got my notes here. I'm going to put them on my knee, actually. I don't have to look down so much. Keep looking at you. Don't roll your eyes at me. Drama, overwhelm. There's a lot of it about. And people seem to be unable to understand how to manage that drama and the overwhelm that comes. I am a bit tired now of hearing about people and going on about COVID. Don't get me wrong, just so we're clear. I think what's happened to our planet and the illness itself has been terrible. Anything that involves loss of life is not something that we should ever take lightly. And I think in the initial stages of people all pulling together and getting through the early stages of coronavirus in every country, there was some very inspirational stuff happened. You know, people helping the neighbours out, you know, people kind of singing from balconies.
Volunteering.
All volunteering.
Clapping.
I get all that. And that was wonderful to see. And that showed me and gave me a kind of a renewed belief in humanity. I think at times it can wane. But since that point, since we've kind of gone into this kind of second and now third stage of the lockdown and coming out of it, the drama seems to have started, the overwhelm, the people falling out, people causing drama. And you're right about the masks. What I read was Texas is having a big problem at the moment in America because the spike's going up. And somebody was alluding to the fact that they weren't wearing masks.
Okay.
And they were alluding to the fact they weren't wearing masks because Donald Trump says don't wear masks, and a lot of them are Donald Trump supporters.
Right.
And then there were people saying, no, it's not to do with that, it's to do with this. And then I realised, I thought, we've started now to cause drama and politicise that. You know, I don't know why it's like it is in Texas. I'm not a doctor, I'm not an infectious disease expert. All I do know is there's a spike there, there's a problem, the hospitals are starting to fill up. And it's now this idea of who's to blame. Like what drama is it that now that we can cause by blaming somebody? I just want you to highlight to you as well, you've got your earphones on the wrong way around.
Does it matter?
It does matter because they look quite uncomfortable. And yeah, are they okay?
Yeah, I'll turn them around though.
Turn them around, just for me, because I'm a little bit, you know, kind of anal like that. It says left and right for a reason.
How was I supposed to know?
Because there's a big L and a big R on each side, so you look at them and put them on.
Yeah, but then you're thinking that I should be looking at them before I put them on my head.
So let's bring it into this country because we're in the UK. And
I'm glad we are here in the UK.
Look, no matter who you are, you always think it's the best place in the world is where you live.
I never used to do.
Did you not? Why not?
No, I totally used to want to live in Italy or Hong Kong or Australia. I used to want to live all over.
I want to be in Hong Kong right now. I'm a bit bothered across there. They seem to be falling out in lumps.
Exactly.
Drama and overwhelm is something a lot of people, we've all experienced it. Even if we don't experience it now, I'm sure we can all say we've experienced some element of drama and overwhelm. So I want to bring in this idea of that keeping things simple can avoid the drama and the overwhelm if you know how to keep it simple. So let's talk about...
Then.
No, this is something that you taught me this. That sometimes I used to get overwhelmed around my kids, especially me two girls.
Yeah.
Lad's a bit different because he's kind of more like me, but I don't really understand girls because I'm not one. And you used to say something like, "Oh, don't worry, you know that's how teenage girls are." Oh, that's how young girls are. You know, sometimes like there's something that say, oh, they were busy doing something or they changed plans or whatever.
Because my teenage girls are a lot older.
Yeah.
And I've been a teenage girl.
Okay, exactly. So you helped me to understand that in some cases, I just simplify. I stopped trying too hard to try to accommodate everything that the kids, including the lad, wanted to do. Because it was complicated. It was causing a bit of overwhelm, a bit of drama. Because I had to be in 3 places at once. It was complicated. And a lot of the stuff you do around your exercise, around the way you eat, even to some degree the way that you kind of dress and everything, you've got a very simplistic approach to a lot of stuff. Especially with your exercise, you didn't do much, different variations, but you did it consistently.
True.
So you had a very simple workout, and you just kept repeating it.
Yeah.
To the point you walked into gym, you knew what to do. So in effect, the reason I'm probably doing what I'm doing now with my running, which is I can't keep that much simpler. I run 5k every day. It's generally the same route. So it's as simple as it could be. I can't really simplify that anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if we've got drama in his life, if we've got overwhelm, I am suggesting it's because at some point we're complicating something that could be made much simpler. Let's go back to the masks.
Okay.
I've seen people sharing stuff on Facebook about, you know, you should be wearing masks here, you should be wearing masks there. I don't believe I've been told by the government, and if I have, it hasn't been told clear enough or often enough, that you should wear a mask outside the house. There are certain places that are suggesting you do wear a mask.
Hospitals.
Or if you can't keep more than 2 meters away from people, you can't properly social distance. So now we've got people kind of on this kind of causing...
The mask shaming.
Is that what it is? You made that up?
They do. They shame people for not wearing masks. No, I haven't made... Well, yeah, I have made it up, but it's coming.
But is that what's coming?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
All right,
I'm starting to feel uncomfortable about not wearing a mask.
Right, okay. Now, I have bought a mask, and you've got a mask. Well. It's in my car. And if there was a definitive, you can only come into Sainsbury's if you wear a mask, I would wear a mask.
Yeah.
But there is at the moment still a choice to wear a mask or not wear a mask. And I can still socially distance, so I choose not to wear a mask. Then you've got people, as you said, kind of saying, you should be wearing a mask. Well,
it's disgusting. I was in the supermarket, hardly anybody had masks on.
So we have to be very careful with this. And I'm not saying these people are putting stuff on there are bad people, but we've got to be careful about causing drama in what we say. We've got to stop causing drama and be careful how we cause drama in how we behave. So, this concept of people feeling overwhelmed and got drama in their life is generally because they're not dealing with an issue or a problem and allow it to just fester. So like when you asked me earlier, it's because I never wanted to say no to people, I didn't want to upset people. But unfortunately, to have less drama in your life, and actually, ironically, it causes less drama in the other person's life eventually, you have to be a little more bold with this is simplifying itself, and I'm not going to get into this drama. So by keeping it simple, only what's necessary. Is it necessary, for instance, that we spend a large amount of our time every day looking at news on Facebook?
No.
No, it's not. So I stopped doing that. I don't go on Facebook as much as I used to by a long way. And I have noticed that there's a level of calmness come about that because I don't hear and see the drama.
You are so much calmer than even a year ago. Much calmer.
Look, I feel very... I've started to realise if something's causing me overwhelm or it's causing me some element of drama, that's an indication that I need to change something and simplify it. So I go onto Facebook every morning. I literally look at any notifications I've got. I post onto my Facebook page, my Gareth Boot Facebook page. Not my personal page, it's like a business page I've got. And then I don't spend much of the time on it because I don't want to tie into the drama. I don't want to hear the news, the fake news. And even worse than fake news is when people are sharing things that you just think, there's no value in me looking at this at all. You know, a picture of your fucking kid from 10 years ago doing something, or, this year out doing something with Auntie Mabel back in 2010. That's very nice for you, but why are you sharing that memory? Or why are you passing an opinion on something, that you think we might care about? That seems to be almost like people can't seem to get away from the machine of drama and I need some gossip. I need to know some news that's a little bit kind of, challenging.
So, I mean, we both know, I'm sure you know people in your family, in your life, and I know people in my family, in my life, who seem to be drawn into drama and gossip. It's something they seem to... quite honestly, not enjoy, but it seems to be part of their makeup. And that's when sometimes you can be dragged into that. And there's, you can say, well, I mean, not looking at Facebook is a great idea. I look at mine on an evening, as you know. I'll spend 20 minutes just going through it, and I get notifications. I have a group on there. I don't read the newspapers. I haven't done for years. I have no television. So apart from the internet, there's no way of watching the news. And I don't look at the news. It's just things come up. So you do keep on top of stuff. And as far as within groups or your family or your friends, you just have to make an effort not to get involved, which is quite easy.
You just have to avoid. You have to avoid drama. You don't need to. You don't need to know a lot of things. I'll tell you one thing that I'm noticing at the moment is I'm considering taking the sports app off my phone, the one that tells me about the sport, because I'm tied in now to watching end season football games, right, and the results. And every time I go on, as somebody who is not a massive avid fan, but certainly somebody who shows an interest in Leeds United, the last couple of games have been nightmarish. There's stress and hassle for 90 minutes. This is not necessary. So I am causing myself stress by attaching myself to the outcome of 11 blokes kicking a ball around on a piece of grass.
That's interesting you said attaching yourself to the outcome.
Yes.
So for me, it's, you know, you were saying earlier on about trying to keep everybody happy, and you can't do that. Once you let things go, things like not taking things personally, not trying to make keeping everybody happy, not being attached to the outcome. Once you let things like that go, you actually get a lot of freedom, because they're not important anyway. We might have perceived them as important at the time, but they're not important.
Well, this is how marketing people work with us, by making it appear that if we don't have that thing, or we don't have the next upgrade to our phone, or we don't have this holiday this year, that in some way, shape or form we're going to be less. We're going to have less of a life. We're going to be less of a person.
But you don't have to feel like that.
No, but that's why this is difficult, because it's an effort not to get tied into all this. So going back to what I was saying about only what's necessary, if you start to realise if it is necessary for you to be on Facebook every day to check it because there's a business reason, or you just want to check it for 10 or 15 minutes, and it's only for 10 or 15 minutes, and you can keep to that, then that's a way of simplifying it. The other way of kind of dealing with a problem that overwhelms you, so let's say you've got something to take on. For instance, now we talked in his last podcast about how we've decorated the little lobby. Now, sometimes you can take a project on that can be in your house, and I'm using your house because everyone will get this, that can be overwhelming. You take it on, it's too big a job, and you didn't expect it to take as long as it was going to take, or be as messy as you thought it was going to be. So you get overwhelmed. And again, the way to deal with that is to simplify it. Okay, this might it might be a very big project, but you've got to break it down to smaller bits. If you're overwhelmed with something, or you're stressed by something, or you've got this drama around something, you've got to go back to this, right, let's split it right back. What is really this all about? You talked about gossip. I know people that gossip. You've said we both do. I think they do love it. I think they love the gossip, because it's some way, shape or form is that gossip is using something that somebody else is doing to make themselves feel bigger and better than what they are. Look at what they did. Or have you heard about so-and-so, look what they've done. Because what it does is it's kind of almost, I think gossip's really dangerous.
I think it's quite cruel.
Because what you're doing is you're avoiding dealing with your own shit in life, and you're focusing on what somebody else is doing. So there's that old adage in them that's in glass houses shouldn't sling rocks.
Oh, and I was thinking the other one, why point out the spell in my eye?
Well, I was going to say that, that's very biblical.
Why point out the spell in my eye?
No.
What is it?
Why point out the splinter in the man's eye when I've got a plank in my own?
Yeah.
So there's this thing now about people that cause drama and people that create drama. It should really be avoided.
But how much in this country do we love our soap operas?
Well, I don't watch them, so I don't love them.
But you do know that they're very
because
popular.
Again, people can look at something else, and it avoids them having to deal with what's going on in their own life. You see, this is something, we talk about this a lot, and we're both into improving ourselves and trying to help others improve their selves. In order for you to live a life that's comfortable and happy and healthy, is quite... Something's making some noise. What was that? Just sorry, we've something's gone on there. No, breaking news. See, this is it, look.
Why do you have notifications on your phone? Does it say we have to wear masks?
No, it's something about... Anyway, I'm not going to tell you what it's about. It's relevant. What was I saying?
I can't remember.
Soap operas. Well, you see how I got distracted there? I should have had that phone off. Anyway, we'll go back to where I thought we were.
About people feeling...
They feel the need to not look at themselves, because it's hard work to improve yourself. Just be a bit mindful here. You've moved out of film on that camera and you're coming this way a little bit. Sorry. I just wanted to make sure we don't lose our...
I was just getting cosy.
Well, do you want to get more cosy? I can move the angle of the camera. What people don't realise is, and they need to understand, is improvement is something that's a constant effort, and most people don't want to do that. Most people think it's easy. Oh, just keep things simple. Well, that sounds simple. It sounds simple. It's very difficult. Well, I want to have I want to get into shape. I want to improve my career. I want to be a better this, that, and the other. Yeah, that takes a lot of time. It might be a lot of very simple steps to take, but there's a lot of steps to take. So you have to look at when you're starting something that you want to improve, that you think there's some drama around, or that you feel overwhelmed with. You've got to break it down into its smallest denominator. So, for instance, if you've got drama around one particular person in your family, every time you go to see, Auntie Nellie, there's going to be some trouble and some drama. Well, it might be best
Not to go.
not go see Auntie Nellie.
And then you would only go to see Auntie Nellie because part of you felt bad about not seeing her.
Yeah. So you're saying, so what
Or
you do?
perhaps Auntie Nellie might think you're horrible for not going to see her.
And people don't like to feel they've been
No.
horrible. So what we end up doing is we end up tolerating something we shouldn't tolerate.
We end up not being truthful to ourselves.
Well, everything at some level can be brought back to truth. There's you want to use some biblical quotes this morning. There you go. The truth will set you free.
Well, in my yoga asanas and everything, not the asanas in the yamas, we talk about satya, which is truthfulness, and there is a lot of truth in the fact that once we live our truth and speak our truth within reason, and then there's always caveats to that. Is it going to hurt somebody? Your life becomes a lot lighter and a lot easier
Because you've simplified it. I got into simplicity. I read a book. It was called, I think it was Walden, Henry Thoreau or something, and it was Walden Pond. It was about living on a Walden Pond, and there's a line that says simplify, simplify, simplify. So I went on this process trying to simplify. I never got it right. I could never find a simple way of doing some things. I always found some other way to complicate them. Because it's a bit like doing a bit of a jigsaw puzzle or a quiz, where you think you've got it right, and then you just haven't quite got it right. And if you look at people in your life that do cause you drama, it may not be practical to not see them people, is what you're going to tell yourself. It's not practical that I can't see Auntie Nellie. Well, actually, it is. Well, she'll fall out with me. And so what? So there comes a point when you always have a choice to simplify something and do the thing that's right for you, but that might mean that you've got to have some short-term pain of somebody falling out with you. The one thing that the lockdown's done for me is there's a number of people I know, some of which I don't have many close friends. I have a handful, and that's all I ever need. I've always believed that. I've never had many friends in my life, and how sad that is. I've never been a big collector of friends.
I don't think I've got any.
No, you've got a few. You've probably got half a dozen people that you...
Yeah.
I put it this way. People I like to spend time with, people that kind of get what I get, and people that I enjoy the company of. There's not many of those people. And the ones that I've got are solid, and I can trust them. And on the fringes of that, there are other people that you can kind of say, well, they're kind of friendly acquaintances. And there's some people now I realise that I have no intention of wanting to spend any time with again at all. I just think, what am I doing? Why do I put up with this person who, quite frankly, is a bit of a knob? And I don't really agree with what they do, but yet I still spend time and try to be nice and kind, because I think in some way, shape or form, that's me being noble. But is it?
With friends, when you look back over your life, I had a friend that I was at school with, and she lives round the corner. I haven't seen her for about 4 years, and I can virtually see her house if I stand on the sofa. And if I saw her tomorrow, I'd be really happy to see her. And your relationships change, and I think it's hard letting go, because you look back to the time when the relationship was strong and you got a lot out of it, and they got a lot out of you, and you've had these good times. And then things do change, and I think to let go of it because it's not the same anymore, it's quite difficult. So we do tolerate people a little bit longer than maybe we should, because we have a history with them of good times.
Well, I look at friendships sometimes like holidays, that you go to a place on holiday, and for that period of time you're on holiday, you love the place and you're very fond of it, and sometimes you might go back and revisit that holiday. And there's some places you go to on a regular basis and visit because you enjoy going there. But sometimes you're only there for a period of time. Somebody once said, is some friends that are either there for a reason, a season, or forever, or something like that.
Yeah, I can only remember.
We're coming with a lot of these today, aren't we?
A
Kiss
season
the other season,
or a
reasons,
reason.
Planks in eyes, and truth will set you free. Goodness me, are we preachers now?
I got a bit kind of like deep in my yoga class this morning. I think they all looked a bit like I'd gone a bit weird.
But again, you're starting to go deeper with your yoga because you're simplifying your yoga. What you're doing right now is you're recognising that there are certain things that you are consistently talking about now, which are kind of the fundamentals of yoga. Like you mentioned, what you mentioned today about the gossip thing, what's that called? When you don't gossip?
I don't know what it is when you
Situ.
go satya. Satya's truthfulness.
So truthfulness. You've now got some very simple principles, because the thing about the yoga practice as a whole, not just the asanas, the touching your toes, downward dogs, the 8 limbs of yoga are not complex.
Oh, it would be asteya. That would be not...
Is that a car by Vauxhall?
That would
the Vauxhall Asteya.
Or it could be... No, it's the first one, which is ahimsa. So it's non-violence. So it'd be not speaking badly.
non-violence. So what you've got there is a good example of something that's very simple. There's only 8 limbs. They're very clear what they are. But getting to be able to practice those limbs effectively can take a lifetime. And being simplistic can take a long time to develop. And you start off by looking at the things first and foremost is, we're talking specifically about how to deal with kind of negative things, avoid stress and avoid drama. But actually, it works as well to bring in positive things in your life as well. So if you look at this idea of a simple practice, what would a simple practice be? What about getting up on a morning and spending 10 minutes in some element of meditation? It's not particularly complicated. It's not particularly time-consuming. And it's very simple. Would you agree? You're supposed to say yes at that point, by the way. So you knack up what I'm going to say next.
Sorry, yes, I agree.
Yes, you agree. Excellent.
Yeah, I agree.
But we'll see what you're going to say, because what I'd say is getting up in the morning and spending some time in reflection. You can say, I don't know how to meditate. You're complicating it. What about spending 10 minutes just in silence on a morning, just pondering, just maybe watching your breathing in and out? And you can simplify anything, but we complicate it and then don't do it. So one thing that I noticed this year as we got we started doing parkrun, didn't we, the local parkrun, which involves running 5K, which is what I'm doing every day now, pretty much. I've done for the last 102 days, not that I'm counting. But I found that there was an added layer of complication to that I could take away, which was, why was I getting in my car to drive 20 minutes, to run for 35 minutes, to drive 20 minutes back?
Oh, if you're talking about parkrun, I can see the point in that, to be with a group of people.
Right. I'm not saying parkrun's wrong. What I'm saying is, for me, I wanted to simplify that more, because for me, it wasn't about running with other people. I didn't really want to do that. That didn't feel important to me. What felt important was running. So now, the 20 minutes it takes you to go in the car and drive to where the parkrun is, I'm already on my way back from my run. So I found a way to simplify that. So as well as looking at this kind of simplification to avoid negative things, it's also, you can look at simplification to bring good things in. So if you're wanting to start something, let's say now you want it to become a writer. So we've got a friend of ours bringing a book out very shortly.
You've got a book?
I know I've got a book, but we've got Jeff the Major, is bringing out his book. It's like it's about cops.
Oh, is it a novel?
A novel. I'm getting a copy sorted. I'm going to get it on Kindle, I think, because I want to simplify having too many books downstairs. Anyway, we're going to talk about that later on, something else to mention. Cops will get mentioned again in this podcast. Cops. So he's bringing a book out. Now, when you look at a book, and I have written a book, and if you haven't read it and you're listening to this podcast, you should buy it. Go to Amazon, charge for Gareth Booth, Taking Care of Yourself. It's a great read. $9.99, $6.99 on Kindle. If you look at a book, it sounds complicated to write a book. Well, you got to write a book. I could never write a book. People would think they can't write a book.
I do. I think I can write a book.
Right. You absolutely can. And I'll give you an example of how I found this. This what opened my eyes to me. When I was thinking about writing it, I didn't think I could do it. And I went onto Twitter. And I realised on Twitter, I had an account on there that I'd posted on something like 15,000 tweets. And I worked out that each tweet had about 13 words in it or something, 14 words. I timed the number by the words, and I realised I'd written a novel in tweets. So you can write a book in length, but if you break it down into little bits, just write a chapter a week.
Tweets.
You're not a fan of Twitter, are you, Susan?
People put on the most inane, ridiculous tweets.
Look,
sorry.
I too. I have been very active on Twitter in as far as posting is concerned this year, because I post every day. I post a little post on there, but I don't watch it much because again, I'm avoiding drama. I don't need drama. I don't need some overwhelm. I don't see somebody telling me that the world's about to end tomorrow. If the world's going to end tomorrow, do you know what? I don't want to know. Just don't tell me. How is it going to benefit me knowing that it's going to end tomorrow? What am I going to do? Do you bring the washing in early? Do you make sure you've taken your library books back?
You don't have to do any of that.
No.
Not if the will's ending.
So this simplifying things works for avoiding things as well as getting things. So if you're after something or you want to go towards something, the best way to deal with it is in really tiny steps. Simplify it. What's the simplest way of getting to that point? When we go camping, I think to go camping, what do you need? You need, a tent, maybe something to sleep in, like a sleeping bag. That's probably about it, really. I need some food, okay. So one of the easiest things or the simplest things in the world to do is to camp. You've got a canvas house, you sleep in it under the stars.
Not when we go camping. We have a little home from home.
There you go.
I take tablecloths and duvets and fairy lights.
So, in a way, what I'm saying is, to some degree, does that complicate something? So, we don't
Not if you've got a list.
Oh, Susan, you're using my words against me. If you get to a stage where you are feeling overwhelmed with something, or you've got drama over something, you've got to look at what you're doing that's complicating it. Uncomplicate it. So if you can get rid of the drama, get rid of it by avoiding it. So I can avoid getting stressed out about Leeds United football team this year by doing something, which is not ever again listening to anything online or searching for or making any kind of reference to trying to find what did Leeds do in the last game.
Yeah, but you're kind of like drawn to it after a while.
That's the problem. That's why it's a practice. Because I'm not going to do it. I went to bed the other night. Leeds were playing. It's going to sound like a sports podcast. It isn't. But I'll give you. Okay, Leeds were playing a team called Luton. Luton at the bottom of the table. Leeds at the top of the table. All they need to do was win. It sounds very simple. They should have gone out there and battered them. They didn't. And I went to sleep because I knew it was affecting me. I thought, just go to sleep, Gareth. I woke up uncomfortable in my sleep, checking it on Twitter. Before you know it, I've had a terrible night's sleep. All because of Leeds United football team. For goodness sake.
Well, in the same vein, I was going to sleep the other night and I got a phone call, which it's only a short call, but it unnerved me, and I laid awake for ages, just going over this information that I'd got, which was nothing, let's face it, it was nothing too tragic. But I went over it, and then as soon as I woke up in the morning, it was the first thing that came into my mind.
Because you'd be complicated that you didn't need that information.
No, I didn't.
It wasn't necessary. So asking that question, is this necessary? So the other night, for me to have a night's sleep, I could have woke up at 9 o'clock the next morning, put the radio on, or put the TV on, no, not TV, but the app on my phone, and I would have found out what happened then. Why did I need to put myself through that?
Do you think some people check their emails when they wake up at middle at night?
I'm fairly certain people check it in the middle at night. I know I've done it in the past. Because sometimes part of this process of simplification is understanding what you're doing. You have to be very honest with yourself. We talked a lot in this podcast so far about truthfulness. If you're not true to yourself, so what is causing you problems? Let's assume now, I remember back in the day when I was aware that I was developing a drink problem, I wasn't true to myself, because if I'd recognised when that drink problem was starting, which was about 1991, it wouldn't take me till 1995 to get to a rock bottom, but I didn't want to be truthful to myself about where I was. Same thing happens with relationships. Your relationship starts to drift, and if you're not careful, you allow it to drift and slide, thinking, well, it's not as bad as it could be. I'm sure it might get better. And all that's happening is you're not being truthful. So what we do is we do two things which I think are really significant, and also I know we've all done them. One is we either try to choose to ignore it, thinking it will go away. I call that ostrich mentality. Just stick your head in the sand. It'll be all right. Let's ignore that.
No, because it's still in your mind.
Right, I know that, but people do it. They ignore things. And the second thing we do is we almost compound lies on top of lies. We tell ourselves things like, well, this isn't as bad as it could be. And then when you hear about people that kind of stay in abusive relationships, and you think, well, that's ridiculous. Why would you do that? Because they kind of thought, oh, it might get better. He might change. She might change.
Really?
You must have heard that. There's a lot of that around.
I've heard it, but I can't imagine if you're with somebody that's not behaving.
Yeah, but you've not been in that position.
Well, that they're going to all of a sudden get better.
No, but that's what people think, because they don't want to avoid the raw, honest truth. And drama And this overwhelm comes because you're not dealing with the honest truth. What is the problem here? The problem, it needs sorting. If you don't sort it, it ain't going to get any better.
That's true, because if you try to ignore something or turn it round and feel like you've let it go, all you do is sit there with a smile and you're like boiling inside. You're like so mad inside, but you're showing this smile because you want to be seen as calm and let things go and nothing bothers you. So just ignoring it might work in the short term, but it'll keep coming back. So you have to give voice to it in whatever way that looks.
So you simplify it. You think, okay, this isn't working for me. What will work for me? What's the simplest way to solve this problem? So certainly drama. Firstly, the best way to avoid drama is to not be around drama. If you get upset or anguish over reading the news, then don't read the news. And people will say, "Well, I need to be informed." Informed of what? Because at the moment, there seems to be a high percentage of people that are there's two almost polar opposites to how we're dealing with the current coronavirus thing. Some people think all this lockdown's been stupid, didn't really exist. Did the coronavirus? It's been silly. Other people should be locked down for longer. There's nobody, which is right. Nobody knows. You can only look at your own circumstances and say, okay, how can I make this feel right for me? If you feel comfortable going into a shop and wearing a mask, then wear your mask. If you feel comfortable not wearing the mask, or you don't want to wear the mask, then you have to question, well, is this sensible? Is this affecting anybody else? And if the science says, yes, it will affect somebody else, then that's something that should be mandated by law to say that's not correct. That should be, no, we're not doing that. But there's nothing said, so now we've got people just almost causing drama through their opinions.
I went into a shop the other day. Well, it was a wholesalers, and when I went, there was a big sign up: "Please do not come in here without a mask." And I didn't have one, and I'd driven all that way, so I just walked in nonchalantly, and she looked at me and she gestured that I needed a mask. And I sort of shrugged my shoulders and said, I don't have one. And she pointed to a little side desk with masks for 60p, which I thought was a really great idea.
No, but if they've requested you wear a mask and it's their premises, then you should do allowed to kick you out to the shop. And then I think what I'm trying to say.
I thought selling you a mask.
No,
most people wouldn't have had one.
No, probably not. So there is, but again, at 60p, they're not selling them expensive because them things are not that they can't buy them cheap. We're drifting away into the mask bit. I'm trying to highlight that a little bit.
Shall we go into the week that
was? No, because I want to finish this off.
Okay.
We haven't finished the keeping it simple yet, you see? You're running away. You're trying to cause some drama, Susan. And you're getting me overwhelmed. Calm down. You can make your own choices based on what you feel the right choices are for you. And if those choices you're making are causing you to be involved in drama and they're causing you to feel overwhelmed, then you have to do something about it because it will not go away.
And that includes looking at your behaviour.
You've got to look at your own behaviour, and it should all start with you.
What part are you playing?
Only what's necessary. If in a situation you are feeling overwhelmed or stressed, is there something in that process or in that circumstance that does not need to be there? And that thing that might not need to be there could very well be you. So, be willing. And that's difficult to walk away from something, so this isn't right for me. I wonder how many people, honestly, if they could, would walk away from their job tomorrow. They don't enjoy their job, but they keep doing it. Now, the thing is, you may not be able to walk away from your job tomorrow, but what you can start to do tomorrow is start to move towards getting another job. So you can start to work tomorrow into thinking, well, what can I look at? What other jobs are out there? I can start looking for job opportunities. If there's no job opportunities, then you can start learning some new skills that might give you a better opportunity. There's always something you can do to allow your life to be more comfortable through simplifying it. Your home is another thing that you can simplify very quickly. Do you need all the stuff you need? We've talked about this in other podcasts, I know, but I'm going to reiterate it again here. Just decluttering your house is a way of simplifying it. So you've only got what's necessary. Now, okay, we all have nice things as well. I mean, we've got stuff around here that, I'm not exactly sure it's necessary. We've got some empty bottles of wine from your daughter's wedding up there, or
I was reading
a wooden angel. But,
I was reading about some spiritual man. He's quite well known, but I can't remember his name. And he decluttered his house.
Donald Trump?
No. It's some spiritual dude. And he got rid of a lot of his clothes that he didn't wear anymore, and he packed them all up. And he didn't think they were really good enough to take to the charity shop. I've just made that up. I don't know if they had a charity shop. But he went and put a big sack full in a skip. or their rubbish bins, wherever they had. And then he woke up in the middle of the night in a massive, massive panic and ran outside and brought them all back in again.
There you go.
It's a journey. It's a practice.
It's a journey. Simplifying your life, simplifying your environment is a journey. It's when you've got to go. It's not easy. But if you are feeling any amount of drama or overwhelm, simplify things. It will take away that drama and it will take away that overwhelm. But it will not always be comfortable, but it will always be worth it. How long we talked about that? 51 minutes on that. Right, we're into the next bit now. The new section. I enjoyed this last week doing this, actually.
Go on then. Have we done much
The week
there?
that was. I think we've done plenty. It got wet.
I think, right, it's Thursday today. This time last week, we had a Wednesday and Thursday, which were the hottest days, like, in millennia.
I think you
we
just
had
made that
30 odd degrees.
No, it wasn't. Actually, it was the warmest day in the UK for some time.
It was ridiculously hot. And then less than a week later, it's cold and rainy. But you know, that's England.
But I've got this thing. It's been weird this week because we had to put off walking on the weekend because twice because it was raining. So we had to deal with some different weather. I was out this morning running. You weren't. You managed to stay in bed all warm and toasy. Toasy.
Is that a mixture of cosy and toasty?
No, because that'd be coaty. It's a mixture of toasty and cosy. Toasy.
No, I have not got into a habit of running yet, so any excuse for me to bail out, and I do.
But I think it's been interesting because we have had to deal with some more kind of adverse weather, and I think you've been out walking. You went out walking the other day locally, didn't you?
I went with my mother yesterday.
You enjoyed that. You came back looking all bedraggled with your hair all slightly.
Yeah,
because look at now you've done it this morning. It's all smooth and straight. And yesterday you come back from rain like you'd been dragged through a hedge.
It's the only time of the week my hair looks nice because we're all waiting for the hairdressers to open.
Indeed.
We've all been chit chatting on the yoga classes. I've got a hair appointment next week. Oh, I have as well.
The other thing I want to tell Mark, I thought we'd done this week, which was interesting. You've been talking a lot about yin yoga.
Yin yoga.
So this week you've been practicing a yin yoga class.
Yep.
So I think what I want to talk about is you seem to be constantly now trying to evolve your yoga. And
I find it fascinating.
Doing more. So what is it about this yin that you like? What's drawn you to that?
Do you know? I don't know. The thing, yin, we have yin and yang.
Is it yin or ying? I thought it was yin yang.
It's yin, Y-I-N.
And how's yang spelt?
I think that has got a G on it, but it might not be. Don't hold me to it. Anyway, yin and yang means active and inactive. So most of the yoga that we practice is yin and yang. And so yin yoga is more inactive, and it concentrates and focuses on the smaller, like on the fascia and tendons and connective tissue around the joints. So you hold a pose much longer, but they're not, you don't be holding the plank for 5 minutes. The different, more inactive kind of poses where you drop in and you feel into them. So it's really interesting because this isn't random. I was just reading an article this morning about some Hindu lady who was offended by white people, and apparently this is not just one person. They're offended by white people, especially white women, saying that they teach yoga because they've absolutely no idea what yoga is. They're not in a position to know about it, and they just ponce around in the sweaty Betty gear teaching yoga. Anyway.
Well, in that irony, we've just been talking about causing drama. And that's the best a woman can come up with, that she wants to criticise somebody for trying to help people get fit.
Also, but that's not what yoga is about, getting fit. It's not just what it's about. But they were talking specifically about saying namaste. Who says namaste in the classes? It's not relevant. It's not right. And then other people saying it's just saying hi, or it's just saying see you later, like ciao. And people start to make a big deal about the word namaste and how it's been brought down by namaste on T-shirts and other things that I've said before. Namaste bitches and that kind of thing.
What I thought was interesting about you with this program you're doing is how you're going down road to learning this. It sounds very interesting. It's you getting more of your stuff done. So, even though you're doing a lot more yoga these days, your classes are going, seem to be doing yoga all the time, and you're learning as well.
I like it.
You're so immersed in the world of
Well, talking about
yoga.
simplicity, when I first started teaching, I used to have yoga plans. And I come across a lot of teachers now, and they'll have a class written down, they'll have little diagrams, they learn the class. And I used to stress myself out because I couldn't remember it. And I thought, well, I don't see yoga teachers having the notes and saying, hang on a minute, I'll look at my notes. But when I look back, as time went on, I realised I tried to fit too much into a class. And what I do now is I decide when it's not as difficult online because now I'm getting to know the people. Some of the people I teach online I knew before, but some of them are new. So I feel into the class, I understand the class, especially when it's been going a while. And the class that I teach just flows. I might think, right, I'm going to start standing, going to start in child's pose, going to start sitting. And I just feel into it and it flows and it has a different feel to it. And some things I have to learn. I wasn't sure about moon salutations, so I've got it written down there in big letters. But after a few practices, I remembered it. So that was that's a simplification that's come across me in the last few weeks, is to really, once you know what you're doing and you've learnt that skill, is to just feel into it and chill out and let it flow. And we talk about the 3 R's: rhythm, repetition, and regularity.
It's a good one. So the other things that happened this week that I thought were interesting, one that happened this morning actually, your perfume came.
I thought there was some sort of plan for me not to get that perfume. You
approached me a while ago because I'm going to talk now about two things. 'Cause I did some this week as well, which and it's right. I'll explain. You came to me. I want some perfume for my birthday. Yeah, no problem. I get some perfume. Okay. Next thing you know, there's a message comes on me Facebook through my messenger with a link to this something called Fern.
Fern.
And the idea is basically you try to tell them quickly. What does Fern do? They do 4 perfumes a year, don't they?
Yeah, every 3 months.
Based on the
seasons, and the made in England, and the organic, and the vegan, and the unique, and there's not much of it about. And I wear perfume very rarely for other reasons, and this just kind of took me fancy.
So you said, I can have some for my birthday. So I thought, well, of course you can have some for your birthday, because, I can get you some, order it and keep it for your birthday.
And you never know what to get me for my birthday.
No, I don't. But then what I realised is that's not exactly how this particular present works.
No, it doesn't.
So the idea was...
I didn't know.
I kind of think you did. So you signed up for it, or I signed you up for it, and I go on. You had to be told that you're invitation only. Yeah. I'm very excited about it this time. I'm going to be invited. But in the time between getting my name on the list to be invited, I started to realise, hang on, this is not quite what I thought. Well, this is not a bottle of perfume. Can I have that one on the left-hand side, small or large bottle? A bottle comes every quarter. So this is a subscription thing. Yeah. So this isn't a £60 bottle of perfume. This is now turned into a £280 a year commitment to keep you smelling nice.
However.
And I'm very happy because what my babe wants, my babe gets.
But you don't have to have them every season.
No, you don't. But I thought it was clever because they took you from an interest and kind of then moved you up and upsold you.
But the story around the perfume, I know it's all marketing, but at the same time, what comes across to me is the people that make it interested in the product to a point. And I don't even think it's that expensive when you go into these perfume shops and see all this designer perfume, which is just like cap in a bottle quite often, or with a really strong synthetic smell. So anyway, it came. We only went out for 10 minutes. And it came and it wouldn't go through the letterbox, so it went down to the post office. And this was Friday, so I couldn't go Saturday because you've still allowed 24 hours. Sunday they were closed. Monday I trotted down, new opening hours, 7 while 11. It was 11:15. Wednesday I went down, they're closed all day on a Wednesday now. So this morning...
You've got it.
I've got it.
So you got some perfume, you're happy. I thought it was interesting that I like the ethos behind the company, the fact they use all this natural stuff. It's nice, and it did smell nice when you put on this morning. And then when you'd come back and got ready, I says, give us a smell of that perfume. Well, you can't, I've just had a shower. What are you perfume before a shower for? Anyway, you were testing it out. I signed up for a course this week.
I thought that was last week.
No, I signed up for another one this week. Well, that's kind of a course. It's a friend of mine, Simon Hartley, and you know Simon.
I do know
you
Simon.
met Simon. You know Simon well.
Does it make the boat go faster?
Does it make the boat go faster? Well, I love that book, and if you want a book on simplification and how to simplify things in your life, that book actually does help with simplification. It helped me. But he upsold me this week, little monkey. He put this thing on. He has something online called...
Did you fall for it?
No, I didn't fall for it. Look, I've always liked... There's been something about Simon. When I first met Simon, I liked him. And I went to meet him, or I asked to meet him when I'd read his book. I was that impressed with his book. I wanted to meet the author, which I thought was quite bold of me back then to do that kind of stuff. But I ended up meeting up, and, I like Simon. But he started off, he put us into a prize draw to win 12-month membership to his online programme. So I said, you stick my name in that. Thank you. Wonderful. Anyway... Results come out, I didn't win. Oh dear. But just because in a moment of madness he said I'm going to give away some reduced membership costs. So the first 5 I'll get it to £5, the next 10 I'll get it at £10, then £15.
Mm.
So I thought, that's interesting, a file. I've got a £5. Anyway, £5 had gone.
They all gone.
But I could get a tenner. And I was going to wait. I thought, shall I get no, because if you don't get it now, it might be 15. So I signed up for that, and I just thought it was a really nice, it was a gentle way to get you into something, and whether it was just all marketing is marketing, and I think there's right and wrong ways of doing it, and I think that was the right way. The same way I think the way Fern sell the stuff to you. I was going to say ice cream, the perfume to you,
and it's nice because you get the bottle, and I'm giving some advertising here to Fern, and you get a sample, and you try the sample, and if you don't like it, you send the bottle back and keep the sample.
Do you know, in years to come, if we ever get this podcast to a stage where people sponsor it, we might get sponsored by him.
You never know.
Or maybe being sponsored by Simon Hartley. If I mention his podcast, if I mention his stuff as well. Do you know what it is, though? I think the same with you with that Fern, me with Simon, some other places I think we've done some business with recently. You like to support nice people. The ethics and the ethos of the business is important.
We live in such a negative world where everybody's trying to sell you stuff, and most of the time they're selling you stuff that not only do you not need, is downright bad for you. So when you come across companies or people that are genuine and love what they do, you pick up on that, because that's what I want in my life. That's the sort of ethos that runs through me. I do help out people as best I can. I do have to make a living, but I'm happy. I like, when I start my class, my intention is to really make a great experience. I try and make everybody inclusive. I ask questions. It's important to me to be ethical in what you do. So therefore I look at products as far as I can, and it's not always easy, that reflect my values.
Again, this is where simplification does come into this. If you only need a few things and you use the same people for them, like, if you have a particular, brand of anything and you're happy with them, whether, like my equipment now, a lot of my sports equipment and my outdoor equipment is coming from Innovate. I like them. I like their ethos. I like the quality of the product.
Exactly.
So I keep it simple, so I don't have to go looking for lots of different things. I need a new pair of running shoes. Where shall I go? No, I know I'll go to Innovate. What have they got?
Same little restaurant round here.
Sam the Man.
Yeah, everything's cooked from scratch.
It's not called Sam the Man, it's actually called Corarima. Sam runs it.
Everything's cooked from scratch. It's all delicious. Beautiful. It's just...
But again, he keeps it simple. If you notice what he did recently as well, is he simplified his menu. He took some of the dishes off. And so he simplified that. And I always like restaurants that have got a simplified menu.
Yeah, they don't have a lot on it.
I like that. Because when you go in and they've it's generally... It's generally restaurants that serve food of not the best quality. You can go in, there's like 101 different options.
Or you can get a pizza and you can get fish and chips.
Altogether, listen, that doesn't work. Well, we drove past that place up here on our local, we're driving through the estate near us, and it's fish and chip shop and pizzeria.
Yeah.
Now, it's really weird when you look at it, because it's almost like the shop's divided into two. It's the same shop, but at one end, there's the pizzeria. And at the other end,
but it looks like two separate shops.
But it looks like it, it's not. When you go in, it's one. And I think they just deep fry everything anyway. I think there's no pizza in there. I just think they shove it all in boiling hot fat. I've never been there, never had food from there. It might be delicious and tasty and nutritious, although I doubt it. But when I took you past today, because I don't think you believe me, and I said, there's a pizzeria here. Well, to be a pizzeria, yes, a
Yeah,
pizzeria.
I imagine this wood burning stove and
No,
people shouting "Ciao Bella" and that.
No, there's no that. It's Oikok. Your pizza's ready. You want some chili sauce on it? That's what you get. What else? I'll tell you what else we did this week. In fact, last night we finalised. We've been watching a programme, haven't we, on Netflix? We
binged on that.
Right, let's just binge watching is when you wake up on a morning.
Yeah.
Don't get dressed all day.
Yeah.
Just watch the series till the end.
Oh no, we didn't do that. But sometimes we watch two in a row.
We drink fed it. We watched one a night or two. They're an hour long. So rather than watching a film, some nights we've watched 2 episodes of this, which was a life on Mars.
But I've got really attached to him, and I'm unhappy about the new series.
Well, if nobody knows what it is, let's just give him a brief outline. This guy is a police officer, gets injured, and goes back to 1971.
He's in a coma.
He's in a coma 1971. And it's a story of that. There was
73, I think.
73. There was 2 episodes, 16 episodes. We've got through in about a fortnight. Excuse me. And we finished that. And you were kind of distressed last night when it was over, because it did have a bit of an anticlimactic ending, didn't it?
It was rubbish. It didn't.
Don't give no spoilers away.
It didn't end properly. It wasn't an ending.
I don't know if I said that. I hear that often said, but no spoiler alert. Hang on. This came out in 1990 something.
No, 2006.
All right, it's 2006.
15 years ago now.
So don't give a spoiler alert away. You haven't watched it by now. There's very little chance you're going to. You should do, actually. We hadn't.
It's a great series.
Great series. What else happened? Anything else you can think about? Anything else we need to that's relevant in the week that was?
I always thought of something, but really it's quite an in-depth subject, and I'll talk to you about it later. I think we should do a podcast on it later.
What's it on?
No, not telling
Well, tell me then.
How you were starting to feel uncomfortable about eating plant-based.
All right, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. May be another good podcast.
Another one, because it's quite in-depth.
It is. I'm going to tell you now. So that's the week that was.
Yeah.
So now a little bit of a kind of an update on where we are with Better 24/7.
Yes.
Well, no, because
have you done a course yet?
No, but I've done a course this week, because part of what I've been doing in the last few months is a lot of this stuff, like my own little Facebook page, my own podcast, my own blogging. I've only been doing that, practicing how things work, seeing what works, what doesn't, getting comfortable with doing it to do it for Better 24/7. So this week I did do a course.
You did?
I sat down and I wrote a course on my book, Taking Care of Yourself. It's available on Thinkific, or if you go to garethboo.com, you'll find a link there. And it's just a free course on what is going to be the care system, or what the care system is. And it's funny, it took me so long to... It's been like what's what I'm looking for, a hurdle and a mountain to get over for so long. The fact I did it, and in the end it was a lot more... It was a lot more
because you were making it more complicated.
Do you know, I was just going to say
but
that.
But that's your perfection thing.
I was just going to say that.
It doesn't look right, it doesn't sound right, it's not 100%.
Well, it's funny you say that, Sue, because I wrote something down here we didn't mention. And one thing to remember when you try simplifying is don't try to be perfect, because you'll always hold yourself back thinking it could have been better.
Perfection is not a human state.
They obviously, whoever wrote that never met me. Come on. So it's been the Bet 27. It was still online, and still in my view that we've had for some time now. The intention was to start doing the social media and the Facebook page and all the other stuff from the 19th of July coming round.
Oui.
So we're not far off that now. That
Nope.
marks the start or the end of your first year of sobriety.
It will be 2 weeks on Sunday.
Right. Well, 2 weeks on Sunday, that's for you when you're sober. 2 weeks on Monday
Is when you're 6 years.
I'm year 6 years sober.
Look at us.
Look at us.
Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thought? We've look any so that's really still the plan. So your things on Bet 27. I'm glad I got this podcast on this week, because this is almost Wednesday.
It's Thursday.
It's almost last week we did it on Sunday.
Yeah. We hadn't done
because
any for
we
weeks.
got out of the habit, which was a simple habit, doing it every week. I've enjoyed doing it on this couch today. Have you?
I have actually, but after a while you don't know where to put your
Well,
legs.
do you know what? I'm getting right uncomfortable, so I've started moving around a lot as well. So what's all this about? It's just... But I thought that's some good stuff. So we hope you've enjoyed this one. If you've got some drama, some uncomfortableness in life, some kind of stress, look to simplify the situation.
We know we can put you in touch with a few people that'll join you.
And also, if you want to start something or try something, again, use the same thing. Start simple. Only what's necessary. We could talk a lot more about that, and I think it's something you've got to experiment with. Experiment simplifying, and I think you'll be surprised at how effective and productive you come, and how much less drama you have in your life. What's the rest of the day got in store for you, Susan? Have we got an electrician coming?
Yes.
We're having a light put up.
We're having a chandelier put up.
You make it sound so great. It's some plastic tat from
White.
B&Q.
It was not that cheap.
I'm not saying that cheap, but it is quite
It
over
is quite
the top.
plasticky.
It
Won't look plasticky when it's up. That's plastic as well.
Is it?
Yeah,
I
it's
thought
the
that
same
were
one.
chiseled out of onyx.
No, it's just this lobby. Bless my son-in-law, who's up to his eyes in work and everything else. We're waiting for him to come and do a couple of jobs. And once they're done, it's virtually finished.
Okay, well,
So I might just... I'm going to try a bit of a guilt trip on him later on. I won't mind if I asked him nicely to come anyway. I don't have to try guilt trips on him.
There's you talking about what everybody hymns it and not gossiping and hurting people, and now you're talking about guilt trips.
Guilt tripping my son-in-law. I don't
It might not be,
that.
it might not be the same ballpark, but it's certainly the same bloody sport. Stop doing that and just ask him, he'll come nice.
He will.
So, we've enjoyed that, and we shall see. Next Wednesday, we're definitely doing one on Wednesday, because we've no excuse now. I found the simple setup, and we can just use this. I've enjoyed this, actually. In fact, do you know what? I like these microphones better.
Yeah.
I can do more with my hands, instead of having that big... Anyway, we'll probably change his mind. We'll be in a different setting next week.
Where will we be next week? We'll be like in bedroom, laid on bed like John and Yoko.
No, like...
Or
Eric and Ernie.
Eric and Ernie.
I wouldn't say the two Ronnies, no. Eric and Ernie were Malcolm and White, aren't they?
Two grown men sharing a bed.
If you watch this on YouTube, why don't you subscribe to the channel? We'd love you to. If you listen to this on any of your platforms, subscribe to the podcast. It really does help us. And I say most times, I'm never going to stop saying it, any of those 5-star reviews would be massively appreciated. And for the 3 people that have given us them, it is about that. Listen,
have we had some 5-star reviews?
We've had some 5-star reviews. We've got to remember, this is about the process, not the outcome. We enjoy doing these things. We're putting it out there. If we're meant to have a very popular podcast, it'll happen. All we've got to do is keep doing our bit. So thank you for listening. And until the next podcast.
Take care.
Take care.